The page. Let's talk about Michigan State because we've got Yahoo Sports columnist Dan Wetzel standing by in the Big Apple. He's been there. And Dan, welcome to the show. A couple of weeks ago, you and I were talking about Michigan State and whether or not they could put together a run, and you had belief back then. So what have you seen from this Michigan State team that leads you to believe that they're going to be able to get it done today?
And you had no faith in them.
I thought they could crumble.
Well, you know what? They got healthy. I mean, I just think they have all their players. And as they came together, they were able to get the chemistry. 15 different starting lineups this season. 11 different Spartans started a game. So it's just a total mishmash going across the year. This group, their starting five now, has been together just 17 of their 37 games, so about half their games. But you see that progression. And once they've got the talent, once all the parts fit, there aren't that kind of weakness spot. This is a really good team. And, you know, as we mentioned in the past, you take a guy like Denzel Valentine, who was sort of a secondary player or a role player at times, even when he was starting. He was forced into taking big shots, having the offense run through him at times. There are times he scored, you know, he's had a season where he scored 2 or 3 points. He's had games where he scored 16. But his confidence level to when he's needed to step up now, when he's back to maybe being a secondary choice, is a lot greater than it was. So I think this team is actually better now, despite the 8 losses and all the struggles, than they would have been if they're just 35-2 and cruise through the season, because more guys had to do more things across the season.
Speaking of stepping up, Dan, Keith Appling. I mean, if I'm Connecticut, I don't even guard him. He has to play one of his best games of his career this afternoon for them to win easily, don't you think?
Huge game for Appling. Shabazz Napier and Boatwright, their 2 guards at Connecticut, are incredibly fast, and they spent all night the other night in the lane. They get to the rim. Their speed advantage is considerable, and then they're able to drop it off to DeAndre Daniels and some different guys. It all runs through the guards for Connecticut. That's not unusual. They've always had great guard play at that school. And they get those great East Coast guys. The big advantage for Michigan State is size, not just in height, but in muscle and might and all of that. And they're going to need to kind of knock them off. But this is a big game for Appling. If he can stay in front of whomever he's guarding on that or whatever the switch is, that's going to be a key factor, because Michigan State cannot let Connecticut just live in the lane, and they cannot foul them. This is the best foul shooting team in the NCAA tournament. They're shooting over 85%. They spend a lot of time kind of in an innovative way teaching themselves how to shoot free throws. The other night, they had 20 of 22. That's how they're winning these games. They get their guards in, they get fouled. Boatwright and Napier are going to go to the line and knock them down. So that they can't try to just play physical. They've got to stay in front of them.
Dan, you've traveled all over the globe covering every event imaginable. You've seen every coach imaginable from amateur to professional. What makes Tom Izzo so great? Isn't maybe he perhaps the biggest advantage Michigan State has in this game, because they're always prepared at this time of year? Can you tell us something about Tom Izzo and why he is so exceptional, especially this time of year?
Well, I mean, I think I could repeat a lot of stuff everybody knows. I mean, I think he is genuine, and I think the players believe in him. And I think anytime you have a coach that can do that, whatever the system they are employing, that's really the key. Every single guy, I would imagine, on this Michigan State team, they certainly say they do, are completely convinced they do what Tom Izzo says, they'll go to a Final Four. He's been to 6. They should listen to him. That's a big thing. I also think Tom, you know, he's very relaxed publicly with fans and media. You know, when he's walking around the Garden the other night, I saw him, you know, thanking the trombone players and things like that. Very just open guy. But he also, I think, has an ability to concentrate during games maybe at a level higher than a lot of other coaches. It's not just he's jumping around. He's very, very focused on the way the game is being played. And a lot of times something can get missed by another coach that isn't getting missed by him. And I think that's a big factor. He has a concentration level that I don't think you hear a lot about. It's kind of hard to quantify. I'm just kind of guessing. I will say this: Kevin Ollie's a very good coach. He's only been a head coach 2 years, but he spent 14 years in the NBA. Learned a lot from a lot of different guys. Calls Larry Brown his mentor. So I think it's a good coaching matchup. But I think that's maybe Izzo's key ability in game.
Dan, fantastic insight. We'll check back in with you during the second half hour of the show, and we appreciate you joining us live via Skype from the Big Apple. Well, hopefully that has set the table for you. We've got plenty more to get into. The action gets started today at 2:20 when Michigan State takes on UConn. And standing by in the Big Apple is Dan Wetzel from Yahoo Sports. And Dan, I guess at this point of the game, we want to get your thoughts on what you think is the key matchup between the Spartans and the Huskies today.
Well, I think a little bit we went over it earlier, but it's Michigan State's guards, particularly maybe Keith Appling, stopping. I always say his name wrong.
Here.
Yeah, and Boatwright, and keeping them out of the lane. I get too many names going, but that's the key. The UConn guards are so fast. They get to the lane, they get fouled. They're shooting over 85% from the free throw line in this tournament. They're knocking it down on layups and things like that. It's a guard-oriented. They're smaller, they're faster. They have to beat Michigan State that way. They know that. They don't have the size. I also think Adrian Payne's got to have a big game inside and outside, I guess, just do his whole thing. So I think if Michigan State plays its game, plays physical defense, doesn't get too many fouls and get in foul trouble, they'll be okay today.
Good stuff, Dan. We appreciate your perspective before the game, and of course, we're going to be reading your stuff after the game on Yahoo Sports. Thank you so much for checking in with us via Skype today on the 7 Sports Cave. When we come back, we're going to